goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh my, hello there. How you doing? I know I start a little nasally, but I am. What do you want? Anyway, hello. I'd wish you a happy Columbus Day, but I don't believe in Columbus Day, so I'm not going to do it. I was thinking for all you Italians who get offended at the correction of history of Columbus as a great hero, that, well, I mean, you do have to give him this. He got in a boat, a ship, and, took off to God knows where, which took some courage, without a doubt. And I must say I don't know all that much about him, except I know that they couldn't have known that the natives they found would all die just because they were bringing viruses and other things, because nobody knew about viruses and other things then. I mean, they didn't know that. That's the best I can say. But what resulted was horror for the people who were already here, who had discovered this place long before the Europeans. And that is why, I mean, and also he wasn't the first. I mean, we now know that that those hardy Vikings were here earlier. And they didn't, as far as we know, kill anybody much. I don't think. There's no... Whatever. Christopher Columbus, I'm sorry. He might have sailed the ocean blue in 1492, but I don't see... making a big to-do about it unless you want to try to correct history a little bit, which is something that's being done today. And I just want to point this out, that those of you who want to learn the other side of that history, the Indigenous Peoples Day, this is what some people think today is, Indigenous Peoples Day, is sponsoring... that committee is sponsoring a a walk. They're not calling it a march. They're calling it a walk from the cathedral, Bigelow and Forbes Avenue in Oakland, where the Cathedral of Learning is. And they're just going to walk that short walk across that bridge to like where Phipps is. And that is where there is a statue of Christopher Columbus. And they should be getting they start at 5:30. They should get to the statue by 5:45 if you want to join them. And it's going to be an educational tour. They'll discuss the local history of Indigenous people here, and then you'll get to Columbus's statue, and then they're going to go back. I'm sure there'll be other speeches, and then they'll go back to Schenley Plaza to Conflict Kitchen until 9, and they'll be offering traditional food by Native American. They call them food artists. Cooks, I think is what I call them. Native American cooks. So just wanted you to say that if you want to maybe learn something and also give support to the survivors of Columbus's little jaunt to America. Although he thought he was in China, right? Am I remembering that right? See, I mean, I don't trust any of the history that I know from my grade school. I mean, and Columbus history is sort of mostly what I know. Did he think he was in the West Indies? West Indies. India? You thought India?
Indians.
That's why they didn't even Indians? Oh, okay. And so today, whenever you say, oh, yes, he's an Indian, someone always has to say, I mean like India Indian, not American Indian. So because that was all because Columbus was mixed up about where he was that we have to do that? Well, hello. How are you? It's Columbus Day, October 12th, and it's also Indigenous Peoples Day because, man, they were almost wiped out. My son, I'm sure I've told you, is an Indigenous person. And he feels he just goes bonkers when you talk about Columbus. And I understand because it began this horror for all of the people that were already in what we call South America and Central America and North America. It was news to them that they were discovered. So there's that. Okay. I don't pretend to have a whole lot here, guys. Can I start with just a annoyance I feel? I forgot I had this annoyance, and then I heard it over the weekend again, where they were saying Kim Jong-un had a big parade or something. It was a big to-do. I don't pay attention to him. But then the commentator was saying something to the effect that his missiles could well strike the American homeland. Perhaps. They maybe could strike the American homeland. That's what he said. And that's when I just went, ugh. And it had nothing to do with the missiles. It had to do with the term homeland. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I swear to God, I never heard Americans refer to their country as the homeland or a homeland ever in my life until 9/11. And then all of a sudden, I began hearing Homeland, which is why we even ended up with an entire huge bureaucracy called, now I'm blanking on it, what? Homeland Security, right. I'm thinking, what's it called? Homeland Security. Homeland Security. Please help me. Never, ever did I hear that word. When I heard the word homeland, you know what I always thought of? Germany. I always thought of Nazi Germany. Because they really were into their homeland. And so when the term is used, homeland, it's always appended to America or the United States. So it's the American homeland or the United States homeland, which means it's totally redundant. What is the purpose? We used to just say, yeah, it could be that Kim Jong-un's missiles could reach the United States. We didn't say United States homeland. Now, lest you think I'm making a big deal about nothing in particular, I'm going to suggest that I'm not. That the term homeland is just another little part, and the fact that we now have a Department of Homeland Security is just another little part of making this country, this country of the United States of America or the United States, which is all the names we ever needed. It's part and parcel of making it a more nationalistic country. Our homeland. I'd be curious if you went on Google or something and tried to find an American president calling this country our homeland. As I don't think we did. The fact that it rang so in such a sort of clangor when I first started to hear it after 9/11 suggests that I hadn't heard that before. Because as you know, I got a good ear in that way. I got a good ear for language. And I don't like it. And I've said it before. I pushed back almost immediately. I think the effort to try to rally us and to remind us that that we were in this together, someone somewhere started using homeland because it had, I don't know. We never called this our homeland. We called it our country. We called it the U.S. And I, for one, ain't ever going to call it our homeland. It just, to me, has fascistic stuff hanging off it. I don't like it. I'm probably alone, but I hate it. And it's only conjured. You only hear it when we're talking about threat. And then we're told we all are in this homeland together. I thought America was just fine, you know? I'd rather a Department of American Security. That'd be good. Homeland. I start thinking of, Deutschland. Maybe that's what it is. Deutschland, über alles. Those Nazis were big on their homeland. So, just want to say that every time I hear it, I get freaked. Oh, last week, I felt embarrassed. We were talking about the Nobels because they were handing them out. And I talked about the fact that they're actually voted on the very same day that they're given out, so that the folks who give them out don't even know who's getting it on the same day that the guy or the woman gets a phone call saying, you have won the Nobel in chemistry. Because that call is made immediately after their vote is taken. And I was talking about how the call often comes in the middle of the night because of the time difference between Stockholm, where they are in Sweden, and the United States or other countries that might get that phone call. But then I said something about, what? We got a call? Hello? Hello?
I don't think you're alone in that Homeland term.
Really? You have the same reaction?
Yeah.
Well, that makes two of us.
I really had the feeling that it was a PR campaign by George W. To kind of bring the country together, because the South was the South and the North was the North, and just making sure that he would, I don't know, hold us all in one place.
Yeah.
No matter what we thought about America.
Well, do you agree? Do you agree you hadn't heard the term used for
Never
us?
Heard it.
No.
Never heard it.
Never that's a reason to be very concerned. Yeah, about what were the motivations.
Made me very suspicious.
Me too. Okay, thank you. There's two of us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Woo-wee. Bye. Oh, it turns out there's three of us. Because here's Jack from West Virginia University School of Pharmacy. And he says this, Lynn, I never heard of the word Homeland before 9/11, 2001. I hate it, and I do not use the word. Very remindful of Nazi Germany. Sad. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jack. So it's not just me. Because people think I get a little nuts about this sort of Nazi garbage. Because I once said, I hate driving into the airport here because of those two eagles when you drive in. Because, man, those eagles look like they were taken right off the Reichstag. You're shaking your head. Yeah, Celine is. Yeah. Ugh. We have an eagle in this country that supposedly represents our country. It's the bald eagle. And it doesn't look like that, like those eagles. Those eagles look decidedly fascistic. So whenever I see those things, my blood runs cold. Sorry. Homeland, blood runs cold. Eagles at the airport, blood runs cold. And I can't get over these reactions. It is absolute constant. Try not to use it. Push back on it. It's too friggin' late. How did it happen? Why didn't more people stand up in 2001 and 2002 and say, what's this about the homeland? When did we start being a homeland? For 250, 70, 80, 90 years, we've just been the U.S. We've been America. We've been Americans. And that's been enough. We don't need to be a friggin' homeland. Oh, I'm so glad some of you are with me on this. You are not alone. Here's another. I have heard many say the the use of the word homeland reminds them of 1930s Germany, and nobody seems to remember hearing it before 9/11. And, okay, this is great. Somebody sent me a piece that is called Time for the U.S. to Dump the Word Homeland. Oh, thank God. Can I really quickly, let me see. See, I don't, it doesn't look that big. It's time to do away with the word homeland as the situation with ISIS continues to escalate and as worries about terrorist attacks on American soil continue to spread. We keep hearing the term homeland. It's true, mentioned more and more. Ever since it first stole the spotlight with the creation of the Department of Homeland Security in the months after 9/11, the term homeland has become ingrained. I mean, nobody even blinked. Too many Americans don't even blink. But the reality is that there's something really insidious to me. I think that's the word. About using that word. Chris Matthews on MSNBC said recently, so he doesn't like it either. Oh, it's a term used by the neocons. They love it. But it suggests something strange to me. Like, who else are we defending except America? Why don't you just say America? Why doesn't Obama say we defended against attacks against this country? As if we're facing some existential Armageddon from these people? Do you buy the phrase homeland? I never heard it growing up. Never heard it in my adulthood. It's an absolutely new word for us. Why are we using it? Is there some other place that we're defending other than America? What are we talking about when we say homeland? What is it about? That's Chris Matthews. Well, it's Germanic. It really does have a deep blood and soil tinge to it. Distinctly Germanic, which in fact is more than a touch un-American and really creepy. It was one of the blood and soil of the homeland. That's what Hitler talked about. Blood and soil. We Germans are the products of this earth, and we are a race unique from all the others. He wanted to create an identity that went beyond language and culture. He wanted to invent a German race and have Germany be that race's homeland. Also, he could sell the German people their own racial superiority and use that to justify exterminating others. So in 1934, at the Nazi Party's big coming out event, the famous Nuremberg rally, the Nazis introduced the term homeland. Prior to that, they had always referred to Germany as our nation, or as the fatherland, or as the motherland, not the homeland. But Hitler and his think tank wanted Germans to think of themselves with what he and Goebbels viewed as I don't buy this. As the semi-tribal passion that Zionists had for Israel. What? How did Zionists get in here? Whatever. That Hitler would take anything from the Jews other than their lives is a little hard to swallow. Although Zionists did, before the creation of Israel, call their efforts an effort to reclaim the historic Jewish homeland. But that was in a that was different. They didn't have it. They wanted it back. But this, God dang. And if you think that one little word, why was it accepted so? Why would a President Obama use it now? The fact that it's now ensconced in an entire huge, probably the biggest cabinet agency we have, the Department of Homeland Security. It's just, man, I wish we could get rid of it. Beth writes, add me to the list of those hating the term homeland. Oh. So here's something she says that tells you where we got it from. I'll have to read this later. Sorry, thank you. Chuck, are we confusing the word homeland with motherland or even fatherland? All three rub me the wrong way. Yeah, they all rub me the wrong way, too, because they were always used by the fascists. It's always used by nationalistic forces, and fascism is a very much nationalistic force. I bet the neocons love that word. Unbelievable. Well, good. I'm glad I'm not alone, because it pisses me off. So anyway, back to what I was talking about before, about with the Nobel Prizes and blah, blah, blah. And then I said something about how, so in Oslo, right? Did I say Oslo? And then I said Oslo. And then I thought, wait a minute. Oslo isn't in Sweden. Oslo's Oslo, Norway. But these Nobels are coming out of Stockholm. They're coming out of Sweden. Then how come the Nobel Peace Prize, I swear, is given in Oslo, and yet nobody could... So, confused. And now I've got the answer. Thank you very much. It's odd. So my confusion was understandable. Arthur Nobel, who was, of course, the inventor who established the prize, was a Swede. He was Swedish. And he stipulated in his will that all the Nobels he was going to give out were coming straight out of this committee in Sweden. Except for, get this, the Nobel Peace Prize. For the Nobel Peace Prize, he stipulates in his will that be awarded by a committee of 5 persons to be elected by the Norwegian Parliament. Why? Why would a good Swede like Nobel, who's establishing this award, say, and we'll give them in chemistry and, medicine and physics, and we'll give a peace prize, but that one's going to get chosen by the next door, our neighbors, the Swedes. the Norse. What? I don't really understand it. And there's nothing else other than that that I garnered, that was just the stipulation, that for some reason the Peace Prize is totally separate, even in that it's ensconced in an old mansion in Oslo that is only used for that purpose, and the committee of 5 people that meet to decide who gets the Nobel Peace Prize sit in the same room they have sat in since 1905 when they were giving them out. And it is different from the others in that I said for medicine and physics and all the other stuff, there are no nominations. They come out of the blue. Nobody knows. But I thought I've often heard of nominations for the Peace Prize. The Peace Prize is a totally other animal. But that's as a result of Nobel himself. taking it out of his own country and putting it next door. Anyway, so the people now who choose the Nobel Peace Prize are 5 Norwegians, 3 women, 2 men. They serve a certain term and then they rotate off. Their deliberations are totally secret. However, they do accept nominations, which is not the case for the other Nobels. They accept nominations, but you have to be a somebody to be able to give a nomination. Here's the list of people who can do nominations. Members of national legislatures and international courts. Professors. That's a big group. Professors, previous prize winners, and all current or former members of the Norwegian Nobel Committee. So that's it. Only one of the 5 prizes chosen and awarded by Norway instead of Sweden. To me, that begs more questions than answers. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you that because... Blah, 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 blah. So, I happened upon... hopping around on my TV yesterday around 7:30 or something, and I came upon an interview, long interview with the president on 60 Minutes, which I hadn't known about because I rarely watch network television. I don't see the promotions. Anyway, there it was. And I started to listen, and Stephen Croft was the guy who was doing the interview, and he was pretty tough. But, I mean, understandably, because when I came into the interview, he was drilling Obama on what the F happened with this hundreds of millions of dollars that the government supposedly used to train a group of Syrian fighters to go back into Syria and win one for the Gipper or something. I don't know. And they admitted that they were either all killed, captured, or deserted, and there are like 5 of them left. There's something like 500. Please don't tell me it was $500 billion. Oh, God, please don't. I don't know. The RCI, I mean, a total disaster. And so they went back and forth in a rather testy manner. But then I thought the interesting things that were said later was Obama, when asked about Hillary's email issue, he did not dismiss it. He did not say, he even made a point of saying that it is a legitimate question. Should she have used this private server? He said, it's not that it's not a legitimate question. And then he said, although he said he thought it was quite clear that national security was not breached, but it was definitely a mistake that she made. And he also went on to say that her initial response and responses, I think, were not especially helpful either. So the president, I mean, that's pretty much my assessment too. The fact that it's been absurdly politicized, but whatever. He did not say it was totally, he said that initially it was not a question that should have been asked and pursued. When he was asked about his vice president, Joe Biden, becoming the president, or being president, or running for president, he said Joe Biden should go down in history as one of the finest and most consequential vice presidents. Vice presidents. And then he didn't really say much more. and about how much he loved him and all this stuff, but it would not be considered an endorsement. If it was an endorsement of any sort, it was tepid. Asked about John Boehner, he at least said this: "Look, we weren't the greatest. We didn't work together all that well, but I'll say this about him: he at least understood that in politics and governance, nobody gets 100% of what they want." Which, of course, is not true of the lunatics in that party. And he said, this Congress, I mean, you look at it, he says essentially it's not done anything for 4 years. The simplest things, he said, that could be done. The fact that they're not even looking after basic things like our infrastructure. They're not able to do a damn thing. In regard to the end of his presidency, though, I thought this was very interesting. What's it like to be in the last year? And he said, it's bittersweet, which was his acknowledgement that some of what he had wanted to do, he'd gotten done, but a lot hadn't. That it hadn't been a perfect presidency, that there are things he's proud of and things that he wished had gone better. And he said this: I'll tell you, it will be, when the year's up, it will be time for me to go. This country needs fresh legs. And what he seemed to be saying, although he didn't say it exactly, is that 8 years of this job is about all that anybody can even reasonably do. And then he said, George Washington showed us how it should be done. George Washington, who people wanted to, no, we need you, you can't go, we need you to stay on. He said, enough. I am a citizen. I am going back to being a citizen. Once you have done your duty, you go home. I'm going home. And it made me think, when you think of our greatest presidents, there's a reason that we say George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, or Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. Think of that. George Washington, the first president of this new country, he defined out of nothing what a president would be and could be. And stop and think of other nations where the first president gets power and then gets more power and more power. And even if it says, time for you to go, he says, yes, but, it's not the right time. And they stay, and they stay. And that's how you get dictators. That's how you get autocrats. That's how you get kings. And Washington understood it, understood the idea of a president as somebody who gave the country his or her service for no more than 8 years, and then went home to his farm. God bless him. What a great, great president. And then the thing that the president said, which blew me away, is Croft asked him, but if you could run for a third term, let's say you ran for a third term, if that were possible. And the president said, I'd win. And you know what? He's right. If you would want, absolutely, he's right. Henry writes, Lynn, I did not like the tone of that 60 Minutes interview. It was more on the level of an interrogation, and I'm surprised that Obama's staff allowed it. Well, I had the same kind of reaction. But Obama clearly, those two were almost nose to nose. And Obama has absolute confidence in his ability to take on Steve Croft and anybody else. That's what I got from it. Fine. And he even said coming out of, they broke for a commercial, and coming back, the president actually said to him in almost a taunting manner, like a guy in a prize fight. He said, all right, Steve, what else you got? Like, come on, take a swing. What else you got? He said it with a smile, but with a, come on, man, I ain't afraid of you. And I think he handled it well. I do agree that it seemed at times combative or at times a little disrespectful. Maybe that's what you were really feeling. That, my God, this is a president. Could we not act like you're going to punch him if, I don't know. I thought the same thing, but maybe that's also what's sort of neat about our country, that even if you're the president, a member of our media can just go at you, say to you, as he did at one point. Croft said, Mr. President, I don't even think he said, Mr. President, hey, I feel like I'm being filibustered here, like Obama wouldn't let him get another word in. And Obama's reply to that is, hey, man, if you look at the time, your questions, and it's true, some of Croft's questions were like indictments leading, these big long things leading up to a question. And he said, if you want to have those kind of open-ended questions, then you're going to get an open-ended response. And he just kept going. I think Obama is fearless, frankly. And I think his self-confidence is off the charts. It's what others see as arrogance. And maybe it is. I don't know. But I also couldn't help but notice how gray he is. Remember that young-looking kid who came into the White House? And now he looks like an old granddad. No, he still looks good, but he's gray. Well, why wouldn't he be? That's the age at which you get gray. And then, it's not cool, I think, to color your hair if you're the president. Okay. So there was that. And speaking of all these presidents and stuff, so the CNN is having a debate, the first Democratic debate tomorrow night. I don't know if I can even force myself to watch it. There's 5 candidates. Do you know I can't even name them? Excuse me. The Republicans are getting so much of the coverage. Okay, so who are the 5? We know Sanders and Clinton. Those are the only 2 that have gotten any attention. There's Sanders, there's Clinton, there's the former mayor of Baltimore, governor of Maryland, McCarthy, right? Who plays in an Irish band. He's played here at the, and he has family here, because I know one of his cousins or something called the show one day. And he seems like a really nice guy, but there he is. Okay, so there's McCarthy. And then there's 2 others. I'm thinking, is Chafee one of them? Lincoln Chafee. Former Republican. Former Independent. Former governor of Connecticut? For all I know, he's not one of them, but I think he is. And then who's number 5? I swear, isn't that amazing? I could probably name the 16 Republicans, but I can't name the 5 Democrats. Who's the other one, guys? Oh, Jim Webb, I think. Jim Webb, is he still a senator? But that's what I think. Is that right, Webb? No? Oh, you can't find it. You can't. What? Did I get him right?
Chafee, Clinton, Lessing, O'Malley.
Wait. Oh, not McCarthy. Chafee, Clinton, Sanders, O'Malley is the... And who? Lessig.
Yeah.
So it's not Webb. Lessig?
Oh, Webb's there too.
Oh, Webb.
There were 6. One might have dropped.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know who that is. So there's 5. Yeah, okay. I got him, but except I didn't get McCarthy. What's his name again? O'Malley. It's one of them Irish names. O'Malley, McCarthy. Maybe I was still thinking of that guy who we thought would be the Speaker of the House. You know, I thought about Paul Ryan over the weekend, and I thought, hang in there. Keep saying no. Man, the pressure that guy's under. Now they're putting it to him like, hey, we're a team, and the team needs you. And we'll see if he places his own self and his family ahead of the team. And what does a party come to when of all those jerks that they have, hundreds in the House, in the Congress of our homeland, these United States, what is it that there's only one person who they think is capable of doing the job? That's pathetic. That says it. Okay, yeah, people are writing me these and they're saying Lessig. Who the hell is Lessig? I haven't even... And he's not in the debate. They said there's only 5. For all I know, he's some kid in his bedroom who's just, managed to get enough whatever you have to do to say you're running for the president. Is he a former office holder? No.
He's a law professor.
He's a law professor.
The University of Chicago?
Okay, so never mind. Whoever he is, he's from Harvard? Some Harvard law professor is running? What a joke. Okay. Well, I didn't know his name. So this other thing I saw that I thought was sort of interesting was Lindsey Graham was on, I don't know, some station, CNN probably, and he was being interviewed about the fact that his state, he's South Carolina, that his state was, underwater and people were dead and the damage to homes and infrastructure is just huge and oh my God. And he said something about, well, this is going to be billions and billions and billions of dollars to repair. And of course, we will ask the Congress to earmark some funds for us immediately. And the interviewer said, yeah, well, but, you voted against funds for flood relief after Hurricane Sandy decimated New Jersey and New York. And he said, no, I didn't. And the guy said, yes, you did. And he said, I can't believe that I did. I'm sure that, I don't remember. I'll look back. Because the reality is, yes, he did. And in fact, every single member of Congress, the 2 senators, Lindsey Graham being one, and all of the members of the House from South Carolina voted against lifting a federal finger to help the victims of the flooding and the hurricane in New Jersey and in New York. You remember? You remember a lot of people did. And it was people from the South who thought, screw those Yankees. They can, and the feds, we don't have any money, and so, no. But now they're underwater. They're in need. And they're the first to come begging and are incredulous that anyone would bring up the reality that they had not seen fit to give the same aid that they are now asking for to others who were in every bit, if not more, I suspect, if not more, need. Incredible. I think there's a word for that. What's the word? What's the word? Oh, yeah. Hypocrisy. Absolute hypocrisy. I sure as hell hope that the good Congress people from New York and New Jersey vote no on that, but you know what? They won't. Because they're mostly Democrats. And they'll know that this is what the government does. Comes to the aid of their country. Men and women. So you couldn't blame them if they did vote against them. But they won't. They won't. When do these people... How do you shame a Republican? Is it possible? Is it possible? I doubt it. Lessig is a Princeton professor who is a one-issue candidate. Craig, don't tell me that and then not tell me what the issue is. What's his issue? Now I just want to know that. Oh, speaking of unbelievable, did you see Jack Kelly's latest? Jack Kelly, our local commentator in the Post-Gazette on Sundays. Absolute mind-blowing column. The headline says it all. Inexperience is not a liability. That's what his column is. And he's saying, what's wrong with electing a president who's never governed anything? What's wrong with Ben Carson or Donald Trump or Carly Fiorina? And he says he thinks it might be a fine idea because, he says, all they got to do, here, an outsider president could compensate for his or her lack of experience by assembling a cabinet for the ages. In other words, the greatest array of brain power and talent so that that inexperienced president would have advice and such brilliance behind him. So then he picks the guys he thinks should be in, let's say, President Ben Carson's cabinet. He's going with John Bolton. You know John Bolton, Secretary of State, John Bolton, who is I don't even know how to say this. Was a classic neocon who never saw a problem he didn't think we should start a war over, who is bellicose, who I understand as a human being is a total asshole, right? Now he says, no, maybe we'll give it to Condoleezza Rice. And here's why he says. Because she is brilliant, a Russian expert, and an attractive spokeswoman. Jack, what do you mean by that? Condoleezza Rice is an attractive spokeswoman. So then he says, for the Secretary of State for this Cabinet of the Ages, what he would do is give Secretary of State to Condoleezza Rice. My preference would be to have her out front and Mr. Bolton as deputy actually running the place. Because Condi Rice is an attractive spokesperson. He wants her as the Secretary of State, but actually the little woman won't really be running things. It'll be Bolton behind the scenes. This is Jack Kelly telling you. What the hell? Okay, let's go on. Oh, my God. He has Secretary of Defense Duncan Hunter. Let me tell you, this guy is also a guy that wants to make war everywhere. He is the former chair of the House Armed Services Committee and former Army Ranger. He sees Rick Perry as Secretary of Homeland Security. This is the cabinet for the ages. Get this. He says, Rick Perry, who better to build the wall on the U.S.-Mexican border? Secretary of Treasury, Mitt Romney, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my God. He has Chris Christie as Attorney General. And believe it or not, Health and Human Services, Bobby Jindal. This is what Jack Kelly thinks. This is the cabinet that will allow us to have a president who doesn't know what he's doing. Has the whole party lost its mind? Oh, and this is the coup de grace. Secretary of Labor, Scott Walker. Now, what I've always said about Republicans, and here it is, that when they get in charge of the executive, they put in their cabinets and to head all of the agencies of government people who will in fact turn the mission of that agency upside down. So there it is. For the Department of Labor, he would put the greatest union-busting enemy of the worker ever, Scott Walker. It's like when you have Republicans, you put a climate change denier as the Environmental Protection Agency head. That's the kind of thing you do. Unbelievable. And here's this. Here's his last thing. If a President Ben Carson or a President Carly Fiorina or even a President Donald Trump were to take advantage of this enormous pool of talent available, he or she would have a successful administration despite the lack of experience in government. I can only say that for the Post-Gazette to continue to print this crap in what they say is one of America's great newspapers, we got a call. Hello.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Hey, we get the Republican Party back in there, then it's the end of the Homeland.
If we get who, it's the end of the Homeland? The Republicans.
The Republican Party,
yeah,
they get in
yeah.
charge of
Kiss
it.
our
that word
Homeland
too,
goodbye.
Homeland.
Oh, man.
And I hate when people say, that being said, I hate that. I know you said it. So don't tell me that being said.
Did I say it?
I don't know if you say it.
I don't think
I've
it's
heard
something.
them on TV. They all say it, all those
Yeah,
people on
we
there.
all have our little things that we say all the time, but I don't think that's one of mine.
The guy you were talking about, I can't remember his name, he wants to get rid of money out of politics. That's his big issue.
Yeah, somebody just told me this is the...
okay.
He says he wants to... It's all campaign finance and electoral reform, and I'm for all that, and he says he'll resign once it's accomplished. Well, so he just wants to have a stage where he can talk about it, but... Yeah. Okay, but he's not going to the debate.
That's all I want.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye. William writes, Ben Carson would make a better president than Barack Obama because a question I dare any conservative to answer. Okay. That's right. They would. They wouldn't. I mean, you think that is an impossible question to answer, but they don't. They'd answer it. Ben Carson would make a better president than Barack Obama because, I'll do it for him, because he will get rid of Obamacare. He will make our military stronger and truly protect the homeland. He will not take our guns. Oh, jeez. Okay, Dorothea writes, I think Paul Ryan wants to be president. I do too. I think he knows that this next election belongs to Hillary, and so he's thinking about 2020. And it's pretty difficult, if not impossible, to run for president while executing your speaker duties. Well, it's pretty impossible to run for president if you ever take a job that cannot be done and that will have you out front looking like a hapless person who can't get it done. Right, I agree with you. First of all, he doesn't want the job. He doesn't like administering. He's a policy wonkish type with great ambitions, and I agree he wants to be president, and he thinks that could be a killer career move, meaning, seriously, will kill his career. I didn't mean it as, yeah, that'll be good. So, well, guys, I want to thank you so much for helping me through the show. I didn't know if I had enough here, but I guess my little rant about the Homeland was all pretty much I needed. So, thank you so very much. My sister Susan joining us tomorrow, and I hope you will as well, and enjoy yet another gift of this beautiful day. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.